Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And one of the most requested videos this week is for me to cover Kinobody's newest strength standards. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing. We're going to scale up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Now, when someone first suggested this the other day, I kind of replied back, I've already made this video, I've discussed this. He's like, no, but he's made a new video, so you need to address it. So I went and watched his video, and yeah, I think I need to address it. Now, Kinobody's one of those interesting guys that I do think he markets a lot of stuff that's unnecessary, even though he does promote minimalism, which I can actually appreciate and respect. You know, his overall philosophy, I can actually respect it. He's not entirely wrong, and that's where I give credit with someone like him. He says some stuff I disagree with. I think he does occasionally promote some serious weakness and bullshit. But by that same token, he does understand certain things about the fundamentals that the majority of people out there do get wrong. The majority of people out there do get wrong. So I will give him credit for that. What's real high on that list? Having strength standards. All right, what does he tell people they need to do? Focus on 3-day-a-week training. And I agree, unless you're going to go to some form of periodization, you probably don't need to be lifting more than 3 days a week. Right, if you're not running periodized training, either some sort of linear periodization or concurrent periodization, you probably shouldn't be lifting 4 days a week. You're probably really goofing off in the gym and doing a lot of cable work and machine bullshit if you're in the gym more than 3 days a week. You're not really training hard. Again, unless you're using some form of periodization or Bulgarian style training. And for the majority of people out there who are just trying to get jacked, 3 days a week is perfectly fine, and focusing on your strength on the big exercises. And he does do that. He does do that. So I think I need to give credit for that because I actually happen to agree with that. He's right. Where I run into issues, though, are some of his strength standards in the sense of when he puts out strength standards like this that themselves aren't actually that bad. He puts them out, but there's, number one, no focus on lower body. And the way that he puts out the strength standards, because there is no strength standard set for the lower body, they will actually promote less lower body training. And I think that's a problem. Now, he used to occasionally say, well, you know, it's not good for a Hollywood physique or a superhero physique. And it's like, all right, Greg, you know that's where I'm going to disagree with you. If you guys want to understand my point, this scene will stick in your head. You remember that scene in 300, the first 300 movie where they're all walking out that, you know, you guys know that scene. How many of those guys look like they could squat at least 400 pounds? Most of them. Most of them. How many of the guys do you see when they talk about their actual transformations for these superhero movies and comic book movies? Say stuff like, oh yeah, 5x5 squats were part of what my trainer put me on. How common is that when they actually are asked in interviews? Pretty common, isn't it? Where are your squat strength standards? And at what point do people not understand that squats do build the quads? Raw squats do build quads. It's all this knee wrap and suit squats that people are thinking of that's not building quads, or half reps on squats that aren't building quads. Come on, your quads are a primary mover. They're a primary mover. They are the primary mover in a raw parallel squat with no wraps, no sleeves, none of that bullshit, no squat suits. They are the primary mover. And the deeper you go, the more the lower quad gets worked. So where is that? I have a problem with that from a fitness perspective, the lack of that. And the reason I say that is, yes, I have strength standards out there for pull-ups and chin-ups. I promote that, but I also have squat and deadlift strength standards to go with it. That is what makes it harder, because what ends up happening, people who don't train their lower body are obviously going to weigh less. You could easily weigh 10 pounds less after a couple of years of training if you skip your squats and deadlifts. Why? Because you don't have legs. Your legs aren't weighing you down. So when it comes to particularly weighted body weight exercises, who's going to be better at them on their standards? The guy who doesn't train his legs. Because he's not going to have to pull his leg weight up also. But is that actually going to build more muscle? And in other words, if you have another 10 pounds of leg muscle and you have to take 10 pounds of plates off for your chin-ups and dips, are you going to develop less upper body as a result of it? No. You're still pulling another 10 pounds. You're still pulling the weight. It's just in your legs instead of in the plates. And then when we start talking about body weight multipliers thrown on there, that's a problem. But yeah, I have actually a similar standard in some ways. I tell guys, you do need to get to a 100-pound pull-up or chin-up. I think that that's totally reasonable. And that's a control for body fat. And he says the same thing there, though. That's interesting. And I wonder if he got that phrase from me or he came up with it on his own, that by doing it that way, when we're talking about body weight exercises, that does a control for body fat. That does keep you from being too fat. Because the leaner you are, the easier it is to hit a given amount of weight on a body weight exercise. But when you don't throw lower body strength standards in, that's a problem. That is a problem. Now, will I disagree with his exercise selection as far as guys just getting a really jacked upper body or what he's calling a Hollywood type physique? Are his exercise selections bad? No, they're actually pretty good choices. What do you have? Weighted dips, weighted chin-ups, incline bench, and having pretty high strength standards on those. I actually like that. I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good, actually. Although I think the incline bench can be replaced with the standing press, which he also does. You know, incidentally enough, it's not like he doesn't promote it. That is one of the things I've given him credit for, is promoting the press and building a strength base on the press. I honestly think that's done more for him than his incline has. That's my opinion. I think the press is a mandatory exercise. I think it's a great exercise. I think everyone should get strong on it. I think every healthy young man should get a 200-pound strict standing press. That's a strength standard I set. So I appreciate that he actually does push that, but it wasn't in this particular set of strength standard. I think he can replace the incline. And particularly since he's got weighted dips in there, which is going to build most of your chest, everything but the upper chest really effectively anyways. He's got weighted dips, he's got chin-ups. Throw the press in instead of the incline, I think it'd be good to go. But the problem we have, though, is that, yes, it does control for body fat by putting these standards in and these multipliers. It helps with that, and that's a good thing, because realistically, if you are going for a certain look, you do want to be fairly lean. If you're trying to maximize athleticism, you need to be reasonably lean, right? I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. No expert that I know is. The problem is that when you don't set any strength standards for lower body, it's easier to reach his strength standards when they become the primary focus rather than understanding the entirety of your body and your performance. It will discourage lower body training. And I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem from a fitness perspective. I think it's a problem from a health perspective. Because when it comes down to fitness and health, what's the most important muscles in your body? Your legs. Your legs are more important than your upper body when it comes to actual fitness and health outcomes. And so when we start promoting exclusively upper body, that's a problem. And now I do see that Greg has been doing more squatting. He has been working on his lower body personally. And I actually do appreciate that fact that he is doing more of that. What I would like to see is more of that put into what he's preaching in his strength standards. That's what I would like to see. And in all honesty, I would actually be a hell of a lot less critical of Greg, and I would actually be a lot more supportive if he started incorporating strength standards on the barbell squat, on some sort of hip hinge, and he didn't pimp supplements now, because he used to say supplements were worthless, didn't he? Yeah? He said supplements were mostly worthless back in the day, and I actually agree with that. But then he starts pimping them. And I'm not saying things like creatine don't work, which he's selling, but, you know, again, overhyped creatine product. Come on, bro. But, you know, I understand, man, the money is good for that stuff, and creatine technically does work. So, you know, I get it. I get it. But, you know, I would actually have a lot more respect for the guy if he did do that, though. If he started putting some squat strength standards up there. With these guys, with these other standards, tell them, hey, I want you to hit a double body weight squat, right? Yeah, let's throw that in there with it also, and maybe pimp a few less supplements, no keno octane, more squats. I would actually be a bigger endorser of his work, and I actually wouldn't be as critical as I am. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.